Hello and welcome to another episode of the Maverick Mystic Arts podcast. For training opportunities, please see the website links in the description. In today's video, we are going to discuss postural prisons, how they arise, and some ins and outs of how to deal with them. So, when we begin any spiritual path, we are given instructions on something that we can understand, something that is tangible to us. And one thing that is tangible to most of us is the relationship with the body, right? So we're given instructions on how to sit, right? How to arrange the spine, how to suspend the head, and much, much, much more. So this gives us a basis for our attention, right? And this allows us a foundation for our mind to rest on, right? So we have our posture, and maybe you'd be given an object like watching the thoughts or watching the breath, something like this, right? And as you go through this type of process, what happens is you develop a secondary type of attention. So regardless of what's going on, you develop a point of reference. And this point of reference is always going to be more still, we might say, than the tumultuous nature of the stuff that's flowing around it, right? And so this allows us to start to perceive movement in what we thought was static. Once we perceive movement in what we thought was static, then we can begin to distance the identity from those habits, and this is a part of how this all keeps rolling. So as you start to stabilize the mind and you go, oh man, my mind's getting pretty clear and my concentration's getting good, your point of reference will refine. And as the point of reference refines, you become aware of a tremendous amount of activity in what you once thought was still, right? So through working the posture or through instructions like be still, right, what we start to notice is that, oh, there's actually a hell of a lot of activity going on. And through the application of stillness, we can come to realize that we might have habitual, consistent continuums of activity, say in posture, how we hold ourselves, right? Whatever's going on. And this posture can be a reflection of the astral body and the mental body. So it's not only physical, right? Now, okay, arm's getting tired, so the coffee cup's got to go somewhere else. Okay, so it's not only physical. This is mental and astral as well. Now, as we keep unwinding the stillness potential, the movements of the astral body, you start to defabricate the habitual postures of your emotional system through the astral body. You start to defabricate the habitual postures of mind, habitual postures of emotion, habitual postures of body will come next. So something you might notice is that when one of these bodies releases that particular habit, let's say it's in the astral, there will be a massive shift through the physical and the mental, right? They will have to realign to harmonize this new freedom of the astral body. And this applies right across the board, okay? So here's the thing is, if we attach to the instructions given, right, in the beginning of this is how you sit correctly, all that kind of stuff, those are all essentially these mental posturings right, which get baked into the physical posturing, and there's an emotional connection and attachment to both those posturings, in relation to the instructions, in relation to your relationship with the teacher, whatever pride you might have in those particular instructions. The list goes on and on and on. So we want to be aware of this so that we can begin to pull apart some of these tendencies. Once we pull apart these tendencies, then the posture can be allowed to evolve. So why postural prisons? Well, if we allow these fabrications of our past to continue, this is a stagnancy, right? It's a stagnancy of the moment, of the free-flowing nature of release. So as you go deeper and deeper into your relationships with the Akasha and infinity, and time starts to dissolve and space starts to dissolve, there will come a time where we try to hold on to these habitual postures of the past and really contract around them and bring them forward into the future. So this is something we need to note, we need to be aware of, so we don't get stuck on any of this. Moving forward from that, we have this capability, this possibility of really letting things open up, right? The posture can evolve. The moment by moment relationship can constantly be changing. So you have not a static mental posture, not a static emotional posture, not a static physical posture, but a living, breathing, evolving posture. And this is able to shift and change as you go through your practice. Okay. Now remember, this is not just physical, right? This applies to any mental posturing, astral posturing, etc. So what this lets us do as we practice is become something new, right? Every time you practice, you never know who and what you're going to be when you finish. And that's part of the fun, is that it's an evolving process. So if we can really step back and allow that process to unfold, then what happens is our practice itself becomes living and breathing. It becomes this ebbing, fluxing flow of activity and recognition of the emptiness beneath activity. And this continues to cascade on itself. So one thing we want to be wary of in any practice we get into, and just in general, is where we dig in our identity. What habits of training do we dig into? What aspects of information do we dig into? Do we dig our identity into? What teachings do we dig our identity into? And we have to remember that any teaching that we've ever received, we received at that point in our development, which means how we understood and understand any teaching at the time it's given isn't how we're going to understand it in 10 years. If we can look at that teaching and essentially pull apart its time and space relationships and actually release into, we could say, like the light of that teaching, then the whole thing, that whole line starts to dissolve, right? What's down here? I'm wearing sandals, so we'll go back this way. Once that line starts to dissolve, that connection to that teaching into light, you start to approach the essence of that teaching, and then from there, recognition through the doorway that that teaching gives you into the Akasha. And this allows for literally any teaching to become a doorway to every teaching, okay? And this gives us an unbelievable amount of latitude when it comes to how we approach things, because the way that the mind digs in, the way the identity digs in and really, really grasps hard at the preconceived notions of what something means, what a teaching means, what an instruction means, this is all actually getting in the way of release. This is getting in the way of what we are opening up into. Okay, so let's say, if we go back to the physical posture, you have an idea of how your posture is supposed to be. If you sit for long enough, you will come to realize that what you thought was harmonized alignment is actually an incredible cacophony of misalignment and weird angles and weird tensions and weird folds and compressions and all kinds of things, and you're not as aligned as you thought you were. And if you hold on to that specific of shape, then you aren't actually going through the sincere process of surrendering and of unifying with light and unifying with Akasha, and really coming to terms with that, the deep surrender aspect. Okay, now if you surrender and you start folding, right, now you're creating compression again. So this refines more and more and more and more. And where people run into trouble is you'll hear things like, okay, you become full of light, you become full of Qi. And is this true? Sort of. But when we try to fabricate it, what happens is we hyperpressurize the body and the tissue from within, right? And this creates further stagnancies of the emotional body and further stagnancies of the mental body. Why? Because we heard something and we're trying to create what we think that thing means. Okay, but as you continue to open to greater and greater relationships with surrender, with Akasha, with light and everything from that point on, what happens is there's a very different type of meaning to filling with light or filling with energy. Okay, we have to remember that perception is reflection, and reflection is when something bounces off something else. What's it bouncing off of? The identity, the ego, right? So what is it that inflates? What is it that feels such elation at that inflation of energy? And well, that's going to be the identity that sticks, connects to that energy, and essentially is the resistance to it. Okay, under resistance, the tissue sort of blows out. Okay, now this can have value when it comes to pressurizing the tissue from like some perspectives from like a health standpoint, because it can pressurize types of blood flow, different types of things. Okay, but on the other side of this, you have the opposite of pressurization, which is where at finer and finer layers, the tissue is given over to light substance, not to the body's reaction to it, but to what feels very much like rays of light itself. And this is, we could say, like an emptiness or stretchless quality of light, and or very akashic potentially, depending on how you relate to that. And well, what happens there is you end up with the posture appearing like it's inflating, but there's no fight against anything. There's no pressurization. So it becomes a pressureless type of light experience. And this starts to permeate layer by layer cellularly in a way that buffers in and around everything. And you start to take on more and more resonance with the light itself, not with your own resistance to the light, and resistance to the energy, right? If you've done an incredible amount of body focused practice, your first impulse will be to connect and attach to the body's reactions to energetic substance. Okay, so we want to be wary of these attachments, of these posturings that we are trying to recreate or manufacture or fabricate. So that becomes really, really important as we go on. Okay, now as you go through these types of processes with deep Akashic surrender, etc., stuff starts to open up and the astral body literally starts to defabricate. The mental body literally starts to defabricate and realign within the context of that new relationship with light. And along with those changes, the physical body cannot hold its own shape. And so that is where you will run into some of these habitual posturings, and you'll feel like you are a hand inside a glove that's too small and twisted in weird shapes, and that's actually a cat, kind of like you're in a cast, I guess, or a straitjacket, right? You'll feel like you cannot sustain that posture. And so that physical posture has to be given up and allowed to evolve in relationship with and to the mental and astral bodies. Okay? So very, very important that we give it that opportunity. Now, where we run into some trouble is when we try to think our way to the better posture, right? And we go, you know who knows better? Me. And every time we do that, we try to outsmart the actual harmonious exchange between mental, astral, and physical, right? When we try to outsmart the process, we can never, and we make that perfectly little subtle adjustment with the shoulder or that little thing in your face or whatever it might be. There's nothing that we can do, that we can, like in quotations, do, that will ever be nearly as harmonious and refined as surrender can offer, right? Surrendering into unity with that light and with that infinity and with that akasha. That is what does the realignment, right? There's nothing that we do. And this is where certain mentalities will have a lot of trouble, is in this this action of the mind that clings to, like, I can figure this out, I got it, right? Oh, if I just do this, if I just do that, move this over here, get that vertebra there, all that stuff, that's great. But you're going to end up never moving beyond your own like hyperactive doings, right? So as you surrender, you realize that these habits of posture are continuums of, again, doings. They're continuums of fabricated activity, which is in contrast to surrender and contrast to infinite release, etc. Okay, so hope this was helpful. Thank you for your time. If you are interested in training, please check out the website. There is a couple of online programs as well as a Q&A video reference library. So see what you think of those. Maybe we'll see you there. And trying out a new video format. A friend just showed me how to do this dual video thing on my phone, which is epic. I think it's pretty cool. Hope you guys like it, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, bye.